It's she that makes it always winter. Always winter and never Christmas. Think of that. But there is good news. All is not lost. Aslan, the lion who created Narnia, returns to fight for the land and the people that he loves. Aslan returns to Narnia to set free the people who live there. It's a great story. But why did C.S. Lewis write it? He once said that it is the best art form for something you have to say. I know a lot of people for whom life seems cold and dreary, always winter and never Christmas. People for whom life seems dark and hopeless. John chapter 12, verse 46, I also know that Jesus is the light of the world. On one occasion, Jesus said, I have come into the world as a light, so that no one who believes in me should stay in darkness. In Narnia, when Aslan was around, the snow began to melt, and there were Christmas celebrations. Winter turned into spring. Laughter and fun returned to Narnia. The darkness was dispelled. We have been called out of the darkness. We've been called into His light. Called into His light. If you're in a completely dark room with no source of light, even if you know the room, you still are in danger of stumbling. I give a little bit of credit to my son. He sleeps in pitch black in a dark room. Me, as a kid, always had to have some source of light. Even as an adult, I like to have light. Not that I'm scared of the boogeyman or anything like that. I kind of like to see where I'm going. I've stubbed my toe too many times. I've banged my leg on the bedpost too many times. I like to have a little bit of light. But when you're in a pitch black room and you open your eyes and you look around, your eyes look for light. They look to be able to discern something. And you cannot discern anything without a source of light unless you have heat vision or X-ray vision or night vision. Even night vision relies upon a source of light. And all you need is some sort of candle or night light or something, moonlight coming in through the window, to be able to discern your situation. I panicked one night before I married Jera. I woke up in bed, and we were getting ready to get married, and I lived in an apartment over the church. Don't get any ideas. And I was laying in this bed that we had just moved up there, and I woke up, and because my bed wasn't where it normally was and was totally turned around, woken up in the middle of the night, probably 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was so disoriented, I didn't know where I was. I'd even forgotten that I was even in the church building. I just woke up and, where am I? Where am I? And there was this light in the distance. Seemed a fuzzy light in the distance. And I realized after a while, oh, that's the window. And there's a faint light coming through the window. Okay. All right. You know, you wake up in the middle of the night groggy. You don't know what you're thinking, you know. It's your brain's kind of still asleep. But your eyes are drawn to that light. God has called us into the light to receive His mercy, to receive His mercy. Have you ever seen a child lost from its mother in a large department store or some other place like that? It's a sight to clutch at one's heart. Suddenly the child's secure little world has been shattered. The child is alone in a vast and confusing world. I've seen this happen, and when I saw this happen, the child panicked. And he ran to and fro, continuously crying for his mother. Suddenly, a store employee was on her knees before him, and she put her arms around him, and in a tender, loving way, she tried to assure him that he would find his mother. She had resources that the child could not guess at that young age. She had a public address system over which she could announce the child's plight. If worse came to worse, she could appeal through the police radio for help. We live in a vast and confusing world, and we hardly know which way to turn ourselves. We feel like a child lost from its parents. But one day Jesus came. He assured us that God is a loving parent. He's looking for us, and He wants to heal us. He wants our broken relationships to be restored so that we will no longer feel lost and cut off from the one who loves us. Amen? Imagine that child's relief and the parents when they were reunited. Both were frantic until they found each other. The cross reveals its amazing greatness of the love of God. The extent to which God would go to find us. It assures us that long before we started looking for God, God was looking for us. He has called us into His light to receive His mercy. He has called us to be His special possession. His special possession. I know you've heard this illustration before, but it's one that's close to my heart, and it reminds me of this phrase, special possession. As a wee little boy, standing before a nativity scene, we were talking about it, and we were talking about the angel on the nativity scene, and my mother called me her sweet little angel. Oh, if she had just known me later. No. She called me her sweet little angel. Well, she took the angel, and I looked around, and I was trying to figure out, what can I call my mother? And there in the stable were various animals. I said, Mama, you're my sweet cow. Oh, to be a special possession. He has called us. Psalm 112:4 states, even in darkness light draws for the upright, for those who are gracious and compassionate and righteous. He has called us to be a special possession. We belong to Him. We are more precious than anything else in creation. To be His people. We have been called to be His people. A chosen people. Now I know that when you think of God's chosen people, sometimes we automatically draw our minds to the Israelites. They were God's chosen people. Yes, for a period of time they were. God made a covenant with Abraham and with Isaac and with Jacob. And that people of Israel were chosen. And they would be given their own land. They would be made their own nation. But the primary purpose of that was they were chosen for the Son of God to be born through. You have been called out of darkness. You have been called into the light. You have been called into His mercy. You have been called to be His chosen people.